There you are. Isn't he handsome?
Live trans and prosper. Hi, this is Professor Brian David Phillips, and I'm going to show you how to do that little video right now. This is a tutorial for my students, particularly students currently at the time I'm making this, who are in my literature and film course, because they're making their own adaptations of literature, and some of them will be using special effects. So I want to show you how to do a really quick, simple, easy, cheap method of creating a ghost or teleporting into things using green screen and keyframe opacity. Ooh, vocabulary. Enough of me yakking. Let's jump into this. Yeah. Okay, let's get to it. Here we are in my notebook computer. My notebook computer, I'll be using Power Director 17 because I don't have the newest one on my notebook. And so we're going to use what I got on the notebook because that's what we got. So let's open that up. I already opened up the profile and things. Now the little clip you saw was a finished product. I'm going to show you how I made that, how I did that, and we'll jump from there. So first, let's go through how I did the video. So here's the original clip, all prepped and ready to go. Let's, there we go. That's the whole clip. This is from my phone. I just used actually you can see it right here, my phone on a stand next to here. And so essentially I just had that in selfie mode so I could see what I was shooting. Obviously, if you're shooting someone else, you want better quality, so you're going to use the regular camera, not the selfie camera, which tends to be a lower resolution. All right, so this is from when I started the video, and you can see talkie. I just mapped it out so that I knew to stand on one side here, and that my ghost or teleported friend would be over here. And I did my little talk. I knew what I wanted to say roughly, mostly improvisation of that. There was the finger snap. So I know from this point, the other character should come in. And then I pretended that I was aware of who was there, that sort of thing. And eventually I say bye-bye. And I say goodbye to you. So bye-bye to the ghost. And then all I did was grabbed a hat, costume change, and I moved over and I just acted out. I knew that this character I didn't want to speak. You can talk to yourself. You have to time it really well. It's probably easier if you have another actor doing that role then you can time it. And then I just did some goofiness and turned off the camera. That's me turning the camera off. Now what did I do then? Well, then I made a separate video by myself and my friend. Okay, the separate video, so I edited this piece in my little thing here, and Power Director lets you do that. Your piece, I'm sure, also lets you do that. And I edited, and I found where I want to begin. Usually I begin right about where I say, hey, live trans and prosper. So I do a beginning cut there, and then I do where do I want to end it? So where do I say goodbye? I find that spot. Bye-bye. And I end it. Boom. And then what I do is I'll take this video and I will render it separately. So I've got my raw BDP side. That just means that I got raw footage of me here. And then I go back into here and I find the friend. Now to find the friend, I've got to be tricky because this composite is going to be shorter than this because I have a moment where I come in. So I want to find that moment where I snap my fingers and I split the video, and then the moment where I say goodbye to my friend. And he leaves about there. Now I know how long this will be. So I measure the clip for, this is all time that the ghost will be there, or the teleporting friend. It's 18 seconds, 0.16, 18 seconds and 16 out of 29. And then I'll just go in to the full clip here, and I will find beginning and end of this, which I've already done, and I make sure it's the right amount of time for what I need. Okay, now, then we get to the fun bit. Let me clear all this stuff, because I've already rendered those. So I have two videos that I need to work with. BDP and raw friend. Now the raw friend is tricky because I need to do something called Chroma Key, which is I need to block this area here with green screen. You can see I've already done that here for you. And so I'm blocking everything so I don't have this area, because I'm going to overlap. This video will be overlapped with this video at a particular point, and I want on this video, instead of seeing this, I need to be able to see that. But if I overlap them on my timeline, on my editor, one of them is just going to cover the other. So how do I fix that? Well, what I do is I take my raw friend video and I drop in green screen here. And I just move it over to where I want it to cut off. All right, as you move this around, you're going to want to make sure that you don't go too far over, so you don't want to cover this guy, or you'll have this weird cutoff. You also don't want to go too far this way, or you'll not cover the guy over here. So what you want to do is check and see how far over does he go. So I can see he goes all the way up to here on this, and I want to scroll through and see what's the furthest he goes. Here we're past this mark. So we're probably safe if we go to this little mark here where the white is. And so let's double check and make sure we don't appear behind the green. And it looks like we're okay, and that should still be enough space for this guy over here. And then essentially you want to make sure that this is extended all the way over your timeline. So all the way over the timeline. And then that'll give us a green screen for the entire thing. And then just hit produce on that. Now I've already done that. As you can see, I have a raw BDP file, which is of course just me. And I made sure not to go too far over. I don't go over that. And I have a raw friend with the green screen. So I've already done that. Okay. So this was just to show you how I make it. I've rendered them. And then let's delete these and do the real thing. So how do we do this? Well, I have the raw BDP goes here. Let me shorten this a little so you can see the whole timeline. And then I take this raw friend and I just, I'm going to drop it on the timeline below. So it'll be on top of that. Now, first though, I need to determine where to put that. Remember, we wanted to find where the finger snap was, because I already, there you go. I already timed it. So there we go. We just put that here, and that's at the finger snap. but we can't see it. How do we see it? Oh, that's where we do Chroma Key. Depending upon your system, depending upon what editing software you're using, it should have a green screen or Chroma Key functionality. And that's what we'll do first. Now, when you do that, Chroma Key, what essentially you're doing is you're layering elements. So I layer this and I layer this. So this one here. So I'm layering. So I'm layering this here with this. But if I put anything above this, down further, it'll appear on top. But I want to be able to see what's below it. How do I do that? Well, for my software, I'm using Power Director. This is version 17. I have 18, I just haven't installed it yet. So let's double click this. Booyah. And that opens up. Here we go. Now, your software may do this differently, but I have an actual software function called Chroma Key. So when I click on that, it opens the Chroma Key function. And if I select the eyedropper, I can then select an element on the screen which will become transparent. So I click on that, and now when I select something on the screen, that color becomes transparent. Obviously, I want the green to be transparent. Green screen. In film, they usually use green. Most people don't wear that color clothing. They also use blue, but for our function, we use green. Click on that, and boom, what happened? Ah, now you can change the noise factors. You can change the colors. You can try to mix these up a little better because we obviously have a straight line here where the Chroma Key is happening, but I'm just doing a quick and easy one. You can learn your software and learn to do things. So I click on that OK, and there it is. I have Chroma Keyed the whole thing. If I do go to the movie, we can go right before where it happens. He just kind of pops in. Now, I don't want him to just pop in and to pop out. I want to kind of fade in so it's less abrupt. And that'll give you the transporter kind of effect, or teleporting from Star Trek or something like that. So I'm going to go to my transitions, and I can select favorites. I have favorites. Let me go ahead and fade in for the whole thing and fade out for the whole thing. And then for this clip, let's fade out and fade in. So now, instead of just abruptly cutting, it kind of fades, which is kind of nice. And it'll fade out. All right, so, and you'll see that if I play this right with the finger snap, and that is. Now this is, the opacity here is at 100, so this is just the full guy. This is like a sci-fi kind of thing of your doppelganger showing up from an alternate universe. And bye-bye. And he fades out. Now, I timed that when you're recording it. I had to time this little moves and the conversation. So I wanted it to feel like we were in the same room together discussing. So that's that. And then for this effect, I would then render it if that's all I wanted. If I just wanted a solid teleporter effect, I would just render this. But what if I'm not after a teleporter effect? What if I want a ghost? Because I like scary stories. I don't like scary stories. They scare me too much. But I enjoy making the effects. So how do I get it so that this guy over here becomes not opaque, but a little bit transparent? Not completely transparent, because then that's just dumb, because then I don't see him at all. But I want to be able to see through him a little bit so I can see the background, and that might be an interesting effect. How do I do that? Well, for my software, it's a little trickier. And so let's, the way you do that is Power Director 17, make sure you highlight the clip that you want to be transparent, that you want to play with, and you create what's called a keyframe. And the keyframe gives you data for the thing. So if I hold down my control key and click in an area on this, see this line here, it says opacity 100%. Hold the control key and I can then add or remove an opacity keyframe. So I'm going to just get this as far as I can over here, hold the control key, and I have a little dot here now. That's still opacity 100, but that's your opening reference point. I do the same thing over here. Control key, I'm holding the control key, and I click, and I got the dot here. Now, in between these 2 points, it's still going to be pretty much 100. So what I have to do is I have to put another control key close to the first one, as far over as I can. Right there's one. And we'll do one right over here. There, we got one right here. Now, I have the opacity control keys. So between these two, I can then lower it a bit. So what I do is I grab this and I just bring it down. I'm going to bring it down to about here. And I'm going to bring this one down too. You can see already I've got weird things happening. Probably too far. Let's bring it down a bit. That's too far for my effect. I can see that. I'm going to move it up a little. Maybe move this one a little bit. How about here? I'm trying to get a fairly straight line between the two. And there I have it. I now have, instead of just opaque, I have a ghost. So he's transparent. You can see through him because I have set up these keyframes and the registers between them for that effect. And then I can, of course, render it. I produce it and add that to my bit, or I have that in my bit. And so there's that. I can do that in a long piece, or I can render this scene by itself and then later add it into a longer film, or I can do other things. I can just do it in the longer film. But that is how I would do it in Power Director. I can't tell you how to do it in your software, but your software probably has a function for this. So look up opacity. It might have keyframe opacity. Look up Chroma Key. Look up transparency for help stuff for your software. This is Power Director 17. 18 should be about the same. I haven't played with it yet, and I will install that eventually. But that is it.
Liv Johnson Brasper, hello, I'm waiting for my friend. Oh friend, oh friend. Ah, here you are. Isn't he handsome? Well, he's a little disturbed, but he's quite cute. Bye, friend. Bye-bye. Liv Johnson Brasper, hello, I'm waiting for my friend. Oh friend, oh friend. Oh, here you are. Isn't he handsome? Well, he's a little disturbed, but he's quite cute. Bye, friend. Bye-bye.
And there you have it. That's how to do a quick and easy effect. I hope it was helpful. Be sure to check out my other videos on my channels. If you want to, you don't have to. You don't have to, but if you don't, I'll be so sad. Or not. Okay, for now though, this is Professor Brian D. Phillips saying, live trans and prosper. Bye-bye.